supply and demand is off the charts. There's not enough instructors, good instructors, I should say, and the demand is through the roof. And you've got these middle managers that aren't necessarily, which, I'm sure we'll get into, but you've got these middle managers, group fitness managers that didn't get plucked to be shepherds of talent or creation of talent. They're just there to make sure that the classes get filled and the schedule's made and members are happy. Like these three things are kind of coming together at the same time, and we're running out of talent because we just don't have anyone to see it through. Because if you find someone in the front row, you can't just say, hey, I think you'd be great, Chantal. Go get your group fitness certification, go learn how to teach cycling and come back to me and audition. Because that's a giant leap, right, from taking the class to teaching it. So if you're going to find them in your front row, I think it's the best place, but then you've got to be prepared to help them through their journey, so to speak. And that takes some time. So you've got to have some space as a group fitness manager to make that happen.
You're listening to the Fitness Business Podcast. We'd like to thank this month's premier sponsor, Team Rockstar Fit, the mastermind team that helps fitness professionals and studios add nutrition, fitness, and online coaching to their existing business with tools from Beachbody. Visit teamrockstarfit.com. Welcome everyone to another week of the show. This week's special guest is fitness industry business consultant Shannon Fable. During the show, we chat about where to find the best group fitness instructors. Shannon shares tips for building your group fitness team. We talk about how to best facilitate communication amongst instructors, and she gives us advice for instructors who are wanting to move into management roles. As I record this week's show, we're on the eve of our Women in Fitness Month for 2017, which means that throughout September, I'm going to be interviewing and celebrating some of the incredible women from our industry, and even some from outside the industry as well. Each week, we have a different guest and a different focus. Our guests include Terry Hawkins, Amanda Vogel, Kristen Green, Kerry Keppel, Jessica Matthews, and Jennifer Gluckow. So make sure that if you haven't already done so, you subscribe to the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, and that way you'll receive notifications as those shows are released. Also coming up later in this week's show, I chat to Khaled El Masri, the founder of the NorCal Fitness Summit, and he has an amazing offer for the FBP family. So make sure you listen out after my chat with Shannon to hear all about that. Before we transition to our main interview, I want to say a big thank you to this week's podcast partner. Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com. Shannon Fable is the 2013 IDEA and 2006 ACE Instructor of the Year. She's a fitness business and programming consultant who's helped brands such as Anytime Fitness, Schwinn, Power Systems, ACE, and Bosu over the last 20 years. As an experienced educator and certified Book Yourself Solid business coach, she helps fitness entrepreneurs navigate the industry and make more money. Shannon is a member of the ACE Board of Directors and the owner of GroupX Pro, a cloud-based group fitness management tool, and Ballet Tone. Shannon, a very warm welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
After hearing your bio, I am convinced that the FBP family are probably wondering how you stay on top of your workload. So can we start today by you sharing any apps, systems, or rituals that you use to stay focused and to stay on top of things?
Sure. And I always preface it by saying, obviously, what works for me may or may not work for you. But I'd say the number one app that goes along with the book I gave in a recommendation, Getting Things Done by David Allen, is OmniFocus. And it's both an app as well as a desktop service that you can use. But this is literally my brain. It houses all of my projects, all my to-dos, all my notes, and it helps me stay focused because, a lot of to-do lists truly become just this litany of things just written, and it can get really frustrating and overwhelming to see it all at the same time. So what I appreciate about OmniFocus is it's all captured, it's all in there. My brain is in this app, but it has a great way of bringing to focus the things that I need to work on that day and in that moment to keep pushing forward. I'd say the second app that, and this is not necessarily keeping on top of my business, but I've mentioned like reading to me is one of the best ways to stay ahead, get ahead, and make sure you're doing all you can to continue to grow and lean into whatever you're doing. But I found that, you get so many book recommendations, that can be overwhelming as well. So an app called Blinkist, Blinkist. And if you remember, the Cliff's Notes versions of books you had to read when you were in middle school, it's the same thing, but for adults. And you can either read excerpts, and I shouldn't say excerpts. It's not even reading excerpts. It truly is like the top 10 takeaways from each book. And you can either read it really quickly, or you can listen to it in like 10 minutes or less. So any book that someone tells me about that's, self-help, leadership, management, I go in and try to find it here. I'll listen to it on a quick walk with my pup. I can get 2 in. And then if I like it and it sounds meaty and something I need to dive deeper into, I can buy it right from there, either on Audible or Amazon, and go back and read it later. So that has completely transformed my life. So I get twice as much reading in half the time. And then I'd say my one ritual, and this is taken from, again, always the person to tell you what books to read, any Franklin Covey book, but they talk about daily and weekly planning. So setting aside time, and you have to book it into your calendar. And this is really something, much like we're fitness professionals and we teach people how to, build fitness into your life. You've got to schedule it like an appointment. Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing is true for getting things done. Like you can't just schedule all the things you need to get done. You actually have to set aside time daily and weekly to manage and organize and find the time to get everything done. So, Sundays for me, I set aside 30 minutes every Sunday morning to get really quiet with my coffee, look through my to-do list, all of my projects, all my outstanding items, and look at my week and put in my project time. Because if we leave, big things like writing outlines or making a new group fitness schedule or learning a new release of body pump, if we just leave that to chance, it's never going to get done. So you've got to take a bird's eye view, look at your entire week and find and hold sacred big chunks of time to get your project work done. And then each day, either in the morning or at night, either to start your day or to finish your day, I believe in just a quick 10 to 15 minute planning where, again, you just kind of skim through what'd you get done, what didn't you get done, what's the number one thing you need to do tomorrow to move your business forward, and start rearranging things, whether that's, moving appointments or shuffling your workout. But those two things have been game changers for me, just setting aside quiet time in my days and my weeks to organize everything that has to get done during the week.
Shannon, there are 3 great areas that you've just covered off, and I'm so glad that you mentioned Blinkist because it keeps popping up on my Instagram feed as a sponsored post, and I keep seeing it flashing up there, and it is talking to me, and I haven't yet pressed the button. So now that you've explained the app to me a little bit more, I am definitely going to download that one because as much as I try and read every single day, or personally, I'm an Audible girl, so I listen to all of my books on Audible. I can never get through as much as comes my way, because I'm hearing book recommendations every single day. So I'm really excited to try out Blinkist. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You bet.
The topic that we're talking about today is very, very close to my heart. I've been a group fitness instructor for 10 years now, and I was thinking about, oh my goodness, what are all the things that we're going to talk about that I can ask you? And I didn't know where to start based on all your experience. So we're going to start right at the very beginning. So can you tell us, where do you recommend we go about finding new group fitness instructors?
What a great question. I think the art of this has been lost in the last 20 years. The best place to find group fitness instructors is in your front row. And maybe not even your front row, because sometimes they are egocentric or they think they can do it better. I'm speaking of myself. But, the front row people typically typically, are there waiting for the instructor to not show up so they can do their thing. But I digress. Anyone that loves group fitness and enjoys group fitness, you can turn them into a group fitness instructor. And I think, back in the 90s, that's where we found everyone. And then we put them through this great mentorship program, right, to teach them the skills necessary. And we kind of ushered them along. And I think as group fitness has become so fragmented, like supply and demand is off the charts. There's not enough instructors, good instructors, I should say, and the demand is through the roof. And you've got these middle managers that aren't necessarily, which, I'm sure we'll get into, but you've got these middle managers, group fitness managers that didn't get plucked to be shepherds of talent or creation of talent. They're just there to make sure that the classes get filled and the schedule's made and members are happy. Like these three things are kind of coming together at the same time, and we're running out of talent because we just don't have anyone to see it through. Because if you find someone in the front row, you can't just say, hey, I think you'd be great, Chantal. Go get your group fitness certification, go learn how to teach cycling and come back to me and audition. Because that's a giant leap, right, from taking the class to teaching it. So if you're going to find them in your front row, I think that's the best place. But then you've got to be prepared to help them through their journey, so to speak. And that takes some time. So you've got to have some space as a group fitness manager to make that happen. But front row for sure.
It was funny, Shannon, because last night I was teaching cycle, and as I was teaching, I was actually remembering how much I used to love attending my mentor's class, and I was the front row person at that time, and it was a male instructor. But here's the interesting thing. In the club where I teach currently, and I would say easily in probably the 5 clubs that surround ours, the ratio of male to female instructors is probably 1 to 10. Which I think is a real shame. So in your experience, how would you make teaching group fitness a more attractive option for male instructors?
Gosh, I think what we're fighting is the history of group fitness. We started out as aerobics, right? Like you and I were in our thong leotards in the front. Like, and I go back because I want to make sure that nobody feels disrespected by me saying, maybe look past your front row. Cause I was that girl in the front row with the tape, like ready for the instructor to not show up. And we're great. We're there. We have a little bit of that ego to put ourselves on the stage, but we have to redefine what group exercise is, because I think men, unless they're actively participating, they still think weight room is for men, the studio is for aerobics or jazzercise. So, we really have to start looking at what words do we use on our schedules? It starts with how do we sell the actual product first, because they've got to get interested in the product and then want to deliver the product. So what are our class titles? What are the words we use in our descriptions? What words does the instructor use when she's teaching class? What type of music do we use? What's the look and what's the feel? What are the events that we host in the Group X room to drive participation? And, I know that most of what we do and what we use based on that criteria that I was just mentioning is because we're catering to the people that are already in. But I think group fitness truly has to look at who they want to attract. And you've already got the women. So, they're not going to run screaming if you start using different language on your schedule, so to speak. But we definitely have to redefine what group exercise is. And I've almost gotten rid of the word Group X when I'm describing what it is that we do in different studios or what we do under the multi-purpose health club roof. I mean, I feel like the product we deliver is fitness, and you might get that in a large group. You might get it in a moderate size group, you might get it in a small group, or you might get it one-on-one. And depending on how the product is delivered, it might be in a different location in the gym. And I think if we could do that, from a gym and from an industry standpoint, stop really delineating between group exercise and personal training. Because at the end of the day, if you're a good Group X instructor, you do the same thing a personal trainer does. You just happen to do it 1-on-50 instead of 1-on-1. And I think, unfortunately, as we've gone through the years, it still has been this great divide, right? We're dancing in the studio, we're getting fit in the weight room. And I just don't think that men are drawn to being the person in front of the room to do it unless they, end up in there because they're personal trainers and need some extra money by teaching classes that they want to get in front of clients. I think things like cycling help. And that's a format that men are drawn to. So if we can use that as a gateway drug, or circuit style classes. And we can also run, you're asking, how do we find new group fitness instructors? You need to run campaigns and run drives from time to time. So if you think about, really advertising, hey, we have room to take on 5 new people in the next quarter to train you up to be fitness professionals. What do you say? And we make that more male oriented. And, I think that would help attract them, but we've got to let themselves see themselves in our ranks. And right now it's just so female dominated that everything that we do screams female, that I just don't think they're looking our way. But redefining group exercise is what it's going to take.
You know what? I would love to hear from any of our listeners out there that have, in the last, let's say, 12 months, run that campaign to welcome new instructors, to introduce them, to train them up, because I've got to be totally honest, that's what we used to do, 5 to 10 years ago, and I just do not see it happening anymore. And I think that it's such a simple initiative and a really great way to get those people from the floor that are interested, that are enthusiastic, and train them to being a group fitness instructor. But I don't see a lot of it. So I'd love to hear from any of our listeners that perhaps have a program running. How frequently do you do it? What success do you find in running that program? And are you attracting the men as well as the women? Very, very keen to know that. So make sure that you write in and let me know. Now, Shannon, do you have any tips for us on building a group fitness team rather than just having a whole lot of casual instructors?
I have so many tips, but I'll try to boil it down. This is my passion point. I think, I go back, kind of the same conversation we were just having. Why are we not mentoring people? Why are we not building instructors? And I think, I alluded to it earlier. I think, unfortunately, the role of group fitness manager has become so mammoth in the last decade. Multiple studios. We've got lots of instructors that teach 1 class, 2 class. So they're managing more people that are super, super part-time, that their jobs have gotten so overwhelming that they've run out of time to do what I think the fundamental job of a group fitness manager is, and that is to communicate and connect with this group of instructors, mentor them, educate them, and turn them into, a well-oiled machine that delivers a great product from class to class, time slot to time slot, format to format, no matter who the person is at the front of the room. We've kind of lost that. I think we're just running out of time, right? And we're not well compensated either, but that's a whole nother subject. So I think, making sure that you're getting a team is the start of it all, because the more well-functioning your group of instructors is, the more you're freed up to do these other things we're talking about. Number one way to build a team, redefine what team is. It doesn't mean that we're just cooperating with one another and making sure that classes are covered. A team understands each individual plays an extremely important part, but that we don't get the job done if we don't have every single player. So I like to use the analogy, just like any kind of sports team, right? Like you can't play a football match, or we use baseball since that's universal. You can't play a baseball game if you don't have all of the positions represented on both sides of the ball. And I think sometimes we're just grabbing people a la carte to fill in time slots that we forget to educate the rest of the team about, why did I choose you? What is your strength? What are you bringing to the table? And then letting you know the strengths of all of the other people on your team. So it starts with that common understanding. Now, how do you do that when your team, like your 6 a.m. instructor, may never, ever meet your 6 p.m. instructor unless you somehow magically can get them there on a Sunday every 3 to 4 months for a potluck, right? So that's how can you be a team if you don't see one another? We've got to learn how to lean into electronic communication and not just emailing each other to make sure that the stereo is locked up and if the mic is on the fritz, you know what to do, and to find subs. We need to have places that are secure and private and two-way communication where all the inputs and outputs are going in one place and out one place, where it's not just business, but you can also get the pleasure side, right? Like that's how well-functioning teams happen in the corporate world. You've got the water cooler, but then you've also got your project meetings, and then everyone has their cubes they go back to and they do their work. And we need to figure out how to foster that electronically because it's never going to happen live and we can't force it to happen live. So, I don't know if you know, my husband and I actually created a software 15 years ago exactly for this reason, because I was so frustrated that I couldn't get my team to know one another without forcing them to be at that Sunday meeting. So we created a product called Group X Pro. And, if you don't have that, it's totally fine. Like I'm more than willing to share the tips of what we do in there that make it right. So you can recreate it on Facebook, or if you want to use Slack, or you want to build a website for your team. I don't care where it happens, but you need a place where manager can shoot out notices, and they need to be short snippets of information so I can digest them when I'm ready in a timely fashion and ask questions back to that specific notice versus that Monday email that the manager tends to send out that goes on and on forever. But then I also need a separate place where I can talk with my colleagues, whether it's about universal conversations, music, or, the facility, or happenings at the club, or happenings in the industry in general, or if it's I've also got to allow people the opportunity to get in their small buckets. So my cycling instructors, my body pump instructors, my yoga instructors, and discuss their craft. Right? And be able to bring to one another ideas and knowledge and information, and then a place where they can do their subbing that doesn't require 17 emails back and forth. Right?
We all know that one.
Death to the reply all that ends up being something so much further than what it started out as. But basically, it's communication where I can also foster that engagement. So, on my Group X Pro account that I've used with my team, there's always in the notice section, the place, and in the forum where we all can communicate, I'll start entries like catch someone doing something right, where I encourage instructors to seek out the good that other instructors are doing and publicly promote it in this environment. I post the comment cards that they get. So it's not just me giving you the comment card that Susie wrote about you, but everyone gets to see the comment card that Susie wrote about you. So really celebrating each other's victories. I get them to talk about classes they've taken from other people, things that they've learned. And then the last thing I'd say is, once you get this communication and you're trying to foster these behaviors, you've got to start rewarding the behaviors that build the team. And our kryptonite right now is that the only thing we typically reward people for are big class numbers. And when you start doing that, there's another great book by, oh my gosh, it's escaping me, but I'll send it to you. Pat Riley, The Winner Within. There we go. And he talks about the disease of me. And I find that happens a lot in group fitness because we only publicly tout the things that we're judging. And right now, we're judging our numbers, right? How many people did you have in your class? Or how many good comment cards do you get? And we all know that having good numbers and getting comment cards that are great doesn't necessarily mean that you're the greatest instructor or you're doing the most for the team, right? It might just mean that you're really self-serving and self-promotional and you told people to write 5 comment cards so you could keep your time slot. So when managers tend to make that the public thing, they say, oh, Chantal, you got 5 great comment cards today. It's so amazing. And she had 50 people in her class today. Well done. Well done. And I keep applauding you for that. Then all these other players that might not have 50 people because they're not in a good time slot teaching the most popular class, or they might not be working with people that feel comfortable writing comment cards, or they're not self-promotional, but they're doing really good work. They never get the public commendation. And when you don't feel like you're being seen, that's when you get your superstar divas that all the managers hate, but we kind of create them. We create them by applauding them, and then we get frustrated when they're the ones ruining the team environment. So we need to find a way to reward the behavior that builds teams, not just the behaviors that, end up with huge numbers and packed rooms. So I know that was a lot to unpack, but think about making sure that we educate people about the key reason why they're all there. What are all of their strengths? What do they bring to the table? Foster a way to communicate and lean into rewarding behaviors that build teams instead of just celebrating, the diva that packs the room.
Shannon, in the example that you just gave of having that communication package amongst all of the team members, do you find that it's beneficial to nominate people as champions that kind of drive that process, or is that job of championing the communication generally led by the group fitness manager?
Loaded question. I think it depends on how big your team is. So, once you get over a certain size and you've got lots of different studios and lots of different formats, I find that having lead instructors, even if it's not like a paid position, but like you said, you just kind of nominate. So you are my person. You're my point person for cycling. I'm going to lean into you to help rally the troops, and you can pay them back in other ways that don't have to be money exchanging hands. But I think that's a really important thing that you can do once your group gets above a certain size. So think of it like the president's round table, to use a U.S. euphemism, right? Like the cabinet. And if you can get them enrolled in this idea of getting this communication started, so kind of like any good Facebook page where you kind of plant your influencers and you get them to answer your post first to get the party started. Nobody wants to be the first person on the dance floor. So if you can plant those people to get the conversation started in a communication system, that's the best way to do it for sure. But what I did is I created something called Teamwork Tally. And I know this sounds so ridiculous, but I'm a cheerleader, so bear with me. It's like a reverse demerit system. So instead of getting dinged for everything you do wrong and getting penalized, think of all the good that you want your team to engage in. So whether that's subbing, offering to sub, catching people doing things right, taking other people's classes, evaluations, sharing articles, sharing class plans, sharing Spotify playlists, I associated point values with all those things. And then I started tracking it. And every month I would publicly post the results. And the cool thing about it was, like I was, going back to the last question, it allowed people that didn't engage in the same way to engage in their way. Mm-hmm. And be recognized for it. And once people started seeing, okay, this instructor of the month, because whoever got the most points became the instructor of the month, that whoever was this instructor of the month, that it was objective, that it was an objective measure of subjective behavior, then people started playing. Now, you're always going to have people that don't play, but you can start to weed those out, and then you can identify the ones that aren't necessarily playing and bring them along. But if you can gamify it to some degree, the communication gets started rather quickly. But so I'd say two things in there: find lead instructors, people that you can plant to get the conversation started, incentivize them and others to do it, whether that's with something like a teamwork tally like I created, or even just promising some extra pay in the beginning to get the conversation started. And then when you find the people that aren't necessarily engaging in communication, lean in and find out why. Is it a time thing? Are you not meeting them where they're at? And that's the other reason why we created something like, I know Workplace, Facebook has Workplace, which is very similar to Facebook, but for private groups. You can create a private group on Facebook, but if you can make communication where they can do it on the fly on their phone, you'll have a lot more traction as well. I think that's it. People just don't want to be in their email anymore communicating with another group of people. So the better you can get it into a private system, the better uptake you'll have.
They are great recommendations, Shannon. Thank you for those. Now, we've touched on it briefly, and I'm hoping we can just dive into this in a little bit of detail, and that is so many group fitness instructors want to move into more senior roles. They want to progress into being maybe the group fitness manager, or even moving from group fitness manager to, say, fitness manager or club manager. Do you want to give us a couple of pieces of advice for people that are in that position wanting to move up?
Yes, I think it's a really important question. I'd say my number one piece of advice is start by taking a gut check. And let me back up. I think a lot of people want to get into management because they want a steady paycheck and they don't want to trade sweat for money, right? They want to even that out. They want to teach a few classes, but they want extra money and they want to stay in group fitness because it's what they know. So when I say take a gut check, make sure that you are truly interested and best suited to be behind the scenes, propping up other superstars, and assessing whether or not you still need to be in the main studio at prime time. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you haven't made the switch to identifying yourself as an enabler versus the star performer, then you will fail at this job, or it's not going to be as rewarding as you'll need it to be to stay in it. You've got to enjoy the business side of fitness, and not just group fitness, but of fitness in general. You've got to want to learn about leadership and lead a team, do all these silly things like teamwork tally and whatever it takes to get your team fully functioning. You've got to want to mentor. You've got to want to educate. And you've got to want to do the customer service side of things. And a lot of that has nothing to do with being a great group fitness instructor, right? So I think that's the toughest thing, is many times we end up in it just because it makes the most sense. It seems like a logical progression. But much like I tell personal trainers that are good trainers that they don't need to open a bricks and mortar to take the next step, I don't think that all group fitness instructors are necessarily suited to be a group fitness manager. So take a gut check first. But the next thing you need to do is you've got to learn about the fitness business. And I tell group fitness managers, you do that. And this also relates to moving from maybe group fitness manager to that hybrid fitness manager, athletics director. You've got to learn about, I've been a GM, I've been a salesperson, a membership salesperson, a personal training director, a personal trainer. You've got to, not that you necessarily need to go that route and do all that craziness, but you've got to spend time in each of those departments and find out, how does group fitness sit? It is the hub to some degree of the entire gym. And many times we take latitude with that, and we think that, well, if we know our business, we'll be an effective group fitness manager. But the best group fitness managers understand how they intersect with every other department. And a wise man once told me, like as an interview question, what he said to me was, he's like, what is your number one job as a group fitness manager? And of course, I rattled off all the things that we think that it is. Make customers happy, build a great schedule, make sure class numbers stay up, hire the best team. Yeah. And he's like, no, none of that. I'm like, oh, okay, then you tell me, what is it? And he said, you have to remember you have a direct line to dues. And everything you do affects membership acquisition and membership retention. And if you can't run it through that filter, like if you don't truly understand how a good experience can drive membership, can keep someone from canceling, and you don't understand how to create, like we were talking about, the team atmosphere instead of 3 individual instructors that create memorable experiences, like you're just going to fail. So I think the biggest thing group fitness managers can do is get outside of the studios, get outside the day-to-day, choreography, class planning, music prep, and microphones and spandex, and go experience, like, what does it actually take to keep a gym running, and see how, we intersect or could better intersect with all of those. And then I'd say the other thing is making sure that you take yourself seriously on the business side. So not that you need to go back to school and get an MBA, but you need to understand how to run numbers and deal with spreadsheets and do word processing and organize a calendar and to work cross-departmentally on projects. And so you do need to get, use Blinkist, go back to my favorite app, Blinkist, and read some books on business management and project management, and learn how to be that business person in office versus, the great instructor that you've always been in front of a group of people.
Shannon, thank you for those recommendations. And I think that, here on the podcast, that's what we're all about, is trying to help and support people in their business knowledge. So I would say to all of our fitness managers out there, to our club owners and our club managers, if you're listening to the interview today and thinking that that is an area that your group fitness team and your group fitness manager could really utilize better, could strengthen their knowledge on a business perspective, then yes, please take Shannon's recommendations and help them understand the business better. Share resources like this show with them so that they can increase their knowledge base around general business practices, encourage them to read, go back and listen to the show that we did with Luke Carlson where he talks about Project Learn, which is a really great system that they've created within their fitness facility to help all of the members of the team increase their business knowledge base. So really thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Shannon. Now tell us, in your opinion, what should all of our owners and managers out there be doing to strengthen their group fitness program, say over the next 12 to 24 months?
Gosh, I wish I had a crystal ball. I'd say number one is manage the hit hype. And this could be true about any fad or trend that's come into the fitness industry. Again, I said this earlier, but we tend to look at what people like and we give them more of what they like because the squeaky wheel always gets attention, right? So, you've got your 50 ladies that always come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. and they're super, super vocal and they want more of this class type. We keep giving it to them. And when it's supported by data in the industry that like hits still number 3 on the ACSM top lists, we keep just throwing it at them because we figure if we give them more of that, then we'll attract more people. We just need to realize that people need diversity, and too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing because eventually HIT may not be hot anymore. And then how do you roll back the 27 classes you have on your schedule? Like, how do you bring it all back? So I guess under that same umbrella of manage the HIT hype, it should be make sure that your classes have a sharp point. So each of your formats or class titles, they need to have a sharp point. I think the thing that I'm noticing most now is literally every class, when you get right down to it, it sounds exactly freaking the same. It all promises to be full body, total body, interval, high intensity, burn as many calories as you can. Everyone's welcome. And if we could take a lesson, this is the next thing, take a lesson from what boutiques are doing well. I don't think that at a multi-purpose health club you can stand to be a one-trick pony, but you certainly could look at what boutiques are doing and go, oh, they've actually started going back to where we were in the 90s, where less is more. So, there's so many of these programs that, like I said, your class descriptions look, I can't find myself in anything that you do because it says it's for everyone. And I think today's day and age, we all want to be unique. Like everything else in our life is on demand when we want it, put together the pieces the way you want to do it, like mix and match whatever. Even the dollar menu at McDonald's is like mix and match till your heart's content. So when we go into our fitness experiences, we want it to feel tailor-made to meet our needs. So I'd say manage the HIT hype is number one. Think less is more. Stop being so fragmented in your programming and really make sure there are some sharp points in your programming so I can go, yes, that's my class. That class was meant for me. I see myself in there. My people are in there because we all just want to feel like we belong. And then, like I said, I alluded to it just a second ago, but don't be a hater. Look at what is working in the boutique side of things. Look at what's happening on the virtual side of things, say a Daily Burn or any of the, myriad of apps that people have on their phones. I mean, fitness is just so easy to consume now, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Instead of saying, well, it's not the same as a live experience, or it's not the same as our club's experience. Like that's always our defense mechanism, right? But it's not like what we do. Instead, lean into it. Go consume it. Like group fitness managers, you should be at every boutique in your neighborhood. You should be on every website, and your GM should be giving you money to go experience these things and see what are they doing that's making people pay $18 an hour to take a class that you're recreating in your gym. Those would be the big things I'd say. We've got to make sure that we're peeking under the hood of what's disrupting fitness right now and seeing where we can really corner the market and give something valuable in our clubs that people want to pay for, that people want to show up for, and they treat it like gold, like they are with that boutique experience right now.
Shannon, I just cannot tell you how much I have so thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you today. It's just been brilliant. So if people want to contact you, where is the best place for them to go?
Sure. ShannonFable.com is my website, and lots of information about where I'll be showing up. And I do a lot of writing, so I always link my articles back on many of the topics we talked about today. So that'd be the best place to jump on, and you can message me there too.
Fantastic. Now, we finish off every single show with our FitBizspiration, and I'm hoping that you can share with us, to finish off today, your top 3 tips to move from a team member to a team leader. We'll be back with Shannon in just a moment. First, here's a quick message from one of our podcast partners. We'd like to thank our sponsor, One Fit Stop, for their support, and we highly recommend all fitness professionals go to onefitstop.com to find out how their software will enable you to take control of day-to-day management in your fitness business. One Fit Stop's scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools will set your business up for success.
Number one, know that group fitness is so much more than exercise put to music and spandex. It is so much bigger than that and has so much potential. Treat it like the little gym that it is. 2, polish up your business skills and start taking yourself seriously. that's going to help make sure others do as well. So it may be getting your hair out of the ponytail and freshening up a little bit and taking off your Lulu or your Athleta and putting on a pair of pants and standing up and being a businesswoman toe to toe with a GM or a sales manager or PT director. And then finally, be there. I think I just said it a minute ago, but lean in, be seen, lean in, show up, ask questions, and, eventually you can't be in the right place at the right time if you're not there. So make sure that you are the one being there. Don't wait to be asked to take the seat. Just take the seat.
Shannon, the information that you shared with us today has been so incredibly valuable, and I'm so thrilled that we've had the opportunity to really take a deep dive into the group fitness environment, into group fitness world. So thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
I recently caught up with Khaled El Masri, the founder of the NorCal Fitness Summit, which is coming up very soon on October 13, 14, and 15. Let's dive straight into my chat with Khaled because right up front, he shares some very exciting news. Now, before we even talk about the event, I wanted to just get straight into it because you've got an amazing offer for the listeners of the Fitness Business Podcast. Do you want to tell us what that is?
I do. So for anyone who is a fan of the podcast, we have a special promo. It's buy one ticket, get one free. So buy one ticket at $397 or $597 if you do VIP, and the free ticket will match whichever option you choose from. So invite a business partner, invite one of your trainers, invite a team member, a life partner. But the whole goal is to definitely bring someone out that would benefit from coming to the summit on me. So I will take care of the second person registration.
That is such a sensational offer. So now that we've got that up front, let's tell everyone a little bit more about the summit. So tell us maybe a little bit about some of the speakers or the topics that we can expect to hear.
Yeah, so the speakers, my mission with this summit is to really pull in some of the best experts, not just from fitness, but from the business, internet marketing, digital marketing world. A lot of what they do in that industry spills over to fitness. So we have speakers like AJ Mirzad, who is one of the top online coaches out there. He's one of the top go-to online coaches. And basically he's going to come in and teach all the attendees on how to create their online program. I know online training is this hot thing right now. And for some of us, we don't know how to do it or how to get started with it. And he's had great success taking somebody from 0 to 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month reoccurring by going online. So he's going to talk about his whole system on how to do that. Scott Rockcliffe, your fellow Aussie, yeah, right. So he's coming in. Scott's doing a pre-con on Thursday, all on social media, mainly focusing on Facebook video marketing. And his talk at NorCal, aside from the pre-con or along with the pre-con, is also on Facebook video marketing. So the power of video, why we need to be doing more videos as gym owners and personal trainers, how to target your videos, what kind of content to talk about on the video. So by the time you leave on Monday, you'll have the ability to turn on the camera and create your first video and basically launch it to your tribe and to your market. And then let's see, who else? We have 18 speakers. The other one is, let's talk Corey Taylor. He's based out of Kentucky. He is speaking on mindset. Like, we all know how important mindset is and how important mindset is to our clients and to us, to help us run our business, grow our business. So he's going to be talking all about how to create that ultimate mindset and to help with your clients and with yourself. What else? Who else is on there? Nick Timonello. He's big. He's talking about, how to build muscle without weights. So, body weight training, TRX training, using stability balls. So a little bit of a hands-on component. Let's Let's see who else. We have a few.
That's a pretty good lineup that you shared with us already, Khaled. And I've got to ask you this. Have you seen that sensational video that I think has gone viral now that Scott Rawcliffe did about the common mistakes people make with Facebook Video Live?
I have. It cracks me up. I love that video.
Is that?
I love that video. So which is all true. So he's going to come in and talk about all those, how to properly set up your camera, how to set up the video, how to get comfortable in front of the camera so that you can just start sharing content. I think the biggest one, the one I'm really excited to look is AJ Roberts. AJ's been my mentor and has been to the last 4 NorCals. He's talking about all about you and your message, and you are your message. And so how does your message, connect to your business? How does your message connect to your clients? How does your message connect to the community you're trying to create? That's going to, at the end of it, help you grow your business and help you change more lives. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Just about more authentic sharing and more transparent sharing.
Yeah, Khaled, it's such a great lineup. So listen, into the kind of the nitty gritty details of things, tell everyone, remind us one more time the dates of the summit, the location of the summit, and most importantly, how do they register and how do they take advantage of that fantastic offer that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, so the dates again are October 13th, 14th, 15th. If you do the pre-con, it's October 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, but you have an option. It's in South San Francisco. So fly into San Francisco Airport, SFO, and it's literally a 2-minute drive up the road, and the conference center is right up the street, and the hotel we're staying at is right next door to the conference center. So it's all within a close proximity. Now, for signing up, to get the buy one, get one free, you just go to www.norcalfitnesssummit.com, scroll down to the bottom, pick your option. Once I see the email go through that you're registered, I personally will reach back out to you and get the information of your guest so we can get them loaded and on the registration list.
That's perfect. That sounds really amazing. So listen, I want to say thank you so much for coming on today. It's been great catching up with you once again, now that we're getting so close to the summit. And thank you for the amazing offer that you've put out there. I mean, we on the show are all about professional development, and we are absolute advocates for getting along to conferences and conventions and summits, just like the NorCal Fitness Summit, so that we can not only learn from the experts that you bring into those environments, but also for the networking opportunities that happen within those events. So, Khaled, thanks so much for joining us today on the Fitness Business Podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I love the podcast. I'm a huge fan.
You're awesome. Thanks, Khaled, and all the very best. We can't wait to get some updates from the summit when it happens.
Yes, I'm looking forward to sharing with you.
Precore Quickfire 5.
Terry Hawkins is the founder and chief creative of People in Progress Global. Terry, welcome along to the show.
Thank you, Chantel. It's great to be with you.
Now, let's get things started with your Precore Quickfire 5 questions. Tell everyone, why do you do what you do?
Because I'm addicted to growth, and not just my own growth, but other people's growth. So every day it drives me.
And what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think when I heard the phrase, there are only 2 times in life, now and too late. And I loved it so much it became the title of my first book.
That's a great one. And what's a personal habit that helps you become better at what you do?
I think I continually ask myself, is this my best work? So everything that I do, whether it's I'm cooking a meal for the family or writing a program or delivering a session, I always say, was that the best that you could have done? And if it wasn't, then what could you do better next time? So I'm my toughest critic.
So it's a little self-check-in.
Yeah, I have a friend who there's a great book called Only the Paranoid Survive, and I really love that. I think being a bit paranoid about your own level of excellence is a good thing to keep driving you upwards.
I agree. And what's one book, speaking of which, podcast or blog that you'd recommend and why?
Do you know what? That question really baffled me because I have so many, and I think it's so relative to where you're at right now. I'm reading a book called Peak, which is a study into what actually creates peak performance in individuals, and it talks about practice because of my industry. But I think it's really, I think the best book that you could ever read is the one that jumps out at you in the bookshelf. So
yeah, it's actually a really true statement what you're saying, and I ask that question every single week, and it is so relevant that it is what it is that's important to you at this moment in time. So
exactly,
good response. And why should our FBP family come back and listen to the main interview that we're going to do together next week?
I think I don't sugarcoat things. Like, I share the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I certainly don't mystify anything. I think that business is really tough, and it not just from a financial point of view, but also from all of the issues that actually come up, you know, when you're facing the day-to-day stuff in business. So you can get the truth from me. It's my truth anyway, but, you know.
Well, Terry, I'm really excited to have you on the show because I think you're going to give us a very different perspective to what we're used to. You're outside of the fitness industry and you've had a really broad range of experience, and I cannot wait to dive into that and have a chat to you in detail next week. So thanks for joining us today for the Pre-Core Quickfire 5.
My absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to speak with you next week.
That interview with Terry is coming up in next week's show. It really was one of the most raw, in-depth interviews that I've done. Terry's experience is unlike anyone that we've had on the show before. She gives a completely honest perspective on business highs, lows, and she shares advice that I'm certain will impact many of you, just like it did me. Thank you to all of you for including the Fitness Business Podcast as part of your weekly professional development. I would love you to share the show with your team. Just send them over to the website at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and they can check it out. And don't forget, all the resources, the links, the transcripts are also on that website at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. A big thank you also to our partners for all of their support and to our foundation partner, Active Management. You can go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for a free business development ebook. That is everything for this week. I'll see you next week, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.